Now it's whole. Dakota's 3 words ignite global conversation about loyalty fame. 3 words that broke the ceiling. The world thought the story was over the moment Jamie Dornan finally shared his side of the $20 million revelation. Everyone thought the chapter had closed. But then, Dakota Johnson posted 3 words. Now it's whole. No hashtag. No explanation. No interview follow-up. Just 3 words, and the internet detonated. Because suddenly, the decade-long narrative wasn't one-sided anymore. It wasn't a rumor. It wasn't speculation. It wasn't fanfiction stretched into belief. For the first time, the story of 50 Shades, the pressure, the contracts, the loyalty vow, was complete. And those 3 words triggered something nobody foresaw. A global conversation about loyalty, fame, and the cost of surviving celebrity together. The internet stops, then splits into fire. Within minutes, "now it's whole" became the most repeated phrase on every platform known to mankind. Twitter exploded with fan analysis threads. Tumblr resurrected overnight with essays on emotional partnership. TikTok edits flooded timelines, no longer romantic, but reverent. Trending by hour. Hashtag now it's whole. Hashtag loyalty over fame. Hashtag Dakota and Jamie truth. Fans weren't celebrating a love story anymore. They were celebrating completion. Closure. 2 voices finally aligning after a decade of misunderstanding. And one truth rose above all noise. They weren't lovers, they were survivors. Headlines rewrite themselves in real time. In the next 24 hours, every major publication reversed course. Where tabloids once wrote, "Jamie Dakota secretly in love," now they printed, "A bond built on pressure, not passion." Where gossip once pushed, "Forbidden romance," new columns praised, "2 humans choosing loyalty, not fantasy." Hollywood had never been so quick to rewrite a story. Because it wasn't about selling fantasy anymore. It was about witnessing honesty. And humanity sells harder than seduction. The academic world joins in. Within a week, universities began designing lectures around the revelation. The psychology of public projection. Shared trauma co-survival in entertainment. Why fandom builds myths around beautiful people. Celebrity identity versus public ownership. Professors compared Jamie Dakota to the Beatles' hysteria. Marilyn Monroe invented narratives. Princess Diana media illusion. Except this time, the subjects were still alive. Speaking for themselves. One social psychologist wrote, "Dakota's 3 words marked the first time a fandom matured collectively in real time. History recorded it as the night parasocial fantasy became empathy. The personal reaction, millions cry without knowing why." Threads appeared everywhere. "I feel like I misunderstood them for 10 years. I'm grieving the story I invented, not the truth. Respect is more beautiful than romance, I never realized." Some fans admitted they wanted love because they lacked it. Others said the truth felt oddly more meaningful than fantasy. One viral TikTok said, "Romance ends. Loyalty echoes." And that line lived like scripture. Dakota speaks again, only once. 5 days later, Dakota appeared at an indie film panel. No red carpet glamour. Just coffee, denim, dim light. A journalist, hesitant but brave, asked, "What did you mean by now it's whole?" Dakota didn't smile, she inhaled like someone relieved to finally breathe. A story isn't whole when one voice is missing. Jamie told his, "Now we can all move forward." Not dramatic. Not emotional. Just gentle truth, and the room went silent. Because it wasn't about scandal. It was about liberation. Amelia Warner, the quiet center of the storm. Public opinion toward Amelia shifted dramatically after Dakota's post. She was no longer seen as the outsider to a secret love. She became the anchor, the home, the woman Jamie vowed eternity to. When asked privately how she felt about Dakota's words, Amelia said something devastatingly graceful. Completion doesn't threaten love, it strengthens it. She didn't fear Dakota. She feared unfinished narrative. Now, with both voices united, the ghosts of a decade finally rested. Fame under a microscope, a global debate begins. Talk shows, podcasts, panels, everyone dissected one question. Does Hollywood break people, or do we break Hollywood with our projections? People began questioning. Why do we demand romance from co-stars? Why do we confuse acting with destiny? Why do we want fantasy more than truth? The Jamie Dakota revelation forced culture to confront its own reflection. Not their fantasy. Ours. A new type of fandom is born. And what rose from the ashes was shocking. Fans no longer begged for Jamie and Dakota together. They begged for them happy, even if apart. Fan accounts updated bios. Not love, loyalty. Truth, rumor. Respect is the new ship. Art now showed them. Not holding hands. But standing back to back in a storm. Because they weren't soulmates. They were shields. The final understanding, and why it matters globally. One line began circulating like wildfire, not from the films, but from the truth. They weren't meant to be lovers. They were meant to be each other's witness. Hollywood never gave us that archetype before. Not lovers. Not enemies. Not strangers. But loyalty-bonded survivors under fame. Those three words. Now it's whole. Became more than a closure. They became philosophy. Because completion is rare. Truth is rarer. And two people standing side by side instead of intertwined? That's the rarest narrative in the world. The romance was never the point. The world will always remember Christian Anna. But now, it will also remember Jamie Dakota. Not as fantasy. But as human beings who endured a billion eyes and survived with grace. And in the history of fame, those three words will live forever. Now it's whole. The story, not of love, but of loyalty strong enough to be mistaken for it.